Hello, welcome to Honest Wargamer, and welcome to round 3 of Hammertime, a 2-day TTS event between 45 to 800 people. I can't remember the number, so I don't know. I'm joined by Mr. Tom Layton. Hey, Tom.
Hey, I'm an expert in AOS now. I play this game.
You've played one game, which is technically more than most of the YouTubers who decide to comment on it, so actually you're really quite experienced. It's lovely to have you on the show. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. I'm good, thanks. I'm looking forward to seeing some big naked boys on my screen.
Oh, well, you're going to see some very big naked boys. Let's cut straight to the game. We'll find out who's been given the first turn. Let me tell you about what's going on in this game and who's playing. Very quickly, Tom, as you can see, we're playing Battle for the Pass. Yeah, 4 objectives. The 2 in the middle are worth 2. And then each person's home objective is worth 1 for them, and their enemy's objective is worth 4. Let's talk about the list. We've decided to follow Stephen again from last match. We saw him play against hordes of skinks last turn, and the Thundertusks and the Stonehorns taking out the game by turn 3. We've decided to see how this plays against a Tzeentch Archeon list. There's loads to break down here. You can type ! lists in the chat, and you will get to see the lists.
So I'm just looking forward to seeing like this full elephant doom stack in action. I mean,
that is what it is. It's a Mameluke.
Elephants. Yeah,
it's a Mameluke doom stack. Do you want me to take you through what's happening on the tabletop quickly?
Yeah. So who's got the first turn, mate?
The first turn was given away or taken. I think the first turn was taken by Tzeentch. It was given away by the ogres. So Stephen completely aware of what this army can do. So what you're seeing happen, Tom, is Tzeentch are going to do their pre-game move because it's Host Arcanum, so D3 units get to make a move, and this Tzeentch bad boy, Archeon, that's right, there he is, he's got the Tzeentch keyword, so he's in the army, he is going to get buffed up to high heavens. As you can see, he's already got +1 to hit and +1 to wound. He also is going to be getting rerolls from the Chaos Sorcerer Lord. It just happens. Oracular Visions. He just says, "Hey Archeon, reroll all your saves," and he has a 3-up armor save. He also ignores mortal wounds on a 4-up. He also makes you reroll 6s to hit when you hit him. He's also -1 to hit in close combat. He is baller. He's very survivable.
You've read out so many rules there, Rob. I basically have forgotten half of them already, so I'm going to assume that he's just the baddest of the bad, okay? So I'm looking forward to seeing him charge across the board with all these buffs, try and take out one of my naked men over here, and then see how many of the naked elephant boys he can tank before he finally goes down. Because he's going down, Rob. I'm calling it now. He's going down.
These
elephants are going to take him out, and then they're going to run through the entire Tzeentch army, mate. No problem at all. Easy game, easy life for the naked boys.
Wow, that's some big. That is some big suggestions. So just to let you know, it's a boulder head list that we're looking at. So the Stonehorn, that's the thing that we need to protect at the back on the red base. He is the big combat beast. He is all the power all the time. So he's got +1 to hit from Black Clatterhorn. He's got Brand of the Svard, which is +1 to hit on his mount. So he's just really, really good. And then the Thundertusks that we can see behind the screening Thundertusks, they've all got +1 to wound, +1 wound on their wound characteristic because they're in Boulderhead. They've also got a command ability specifically only because they're in Boulderhead. Tom, I know you're going to be a huge fan of this command ability that allows them to attack as if they're on the top bracket of their profile.
Love it. Love it. So basically, Rob, you're telling me that this is Hell in a Cell 2021 between the Huskard and Archeon, and we're going to see who throws who through the table off the cage.
Exactly right. Pretty much everything else is going to be ignored. Now, let me just tell you quickly what's in the rest of the list, because this is kind of a bit of an issue, especially today. So there is 2 units of Carrick Acolytes. They're only 100 points, and they're really there just to grab objectives. They're pretty much worthless. So we don't have to talk about them any more than that. So they're going to be holding objectives. However, Kairos is in the list. Kairos has got a spell that he can do, which is flat 6 mortal wounds.
Nice. So basically, you're telling me that he's a mini Croak because he can only do 1 lot of D6 mortal wounds.
Yeah, he's
garbage.
Yeah, well, he's pretty brilliant. And we're just seeing him now or Archeon cast. I'm not sure who. So it might. Oh, it is Kairos.
This looks very weird though, whatever it is. Trying to work out what this is. It looks like there's just a big kind of shield popping out the ground there, mate.
So that's
It looks like
Darfie
it's going to
Demon Rift.
bonk me on the head.
So Darfie Demon Rift is a mortal wound spell, which is really, really strong. It's going to do loads of mortal wounds to all of the units around there, and they've got no mortal wound protection. The only model that's got a mortal wound protection is the Huskard on Stonehorn at the back of the board. So that's going to start doing chip damage to them quite nicely. However, so Kairos, flat 6 mortal wound potentially coming out, but it's 18-inch range, and as he's cast Darkfire Demon Rift, each wizard can only cast one endless spell. You can cast multiple spells from a wizard if they're allowed to do so, but they can only cast one endless spell per wizard. So he's not going to be using his Umbral Spell Portal, which can effectively produce, increase his spell range this turn.
Yeah.
However,
and even then, like the Huskard may be able to ignore mortal wounds on a roll, but at the same time, you don't want it at the front because you don't want him to get charged by Archaon. You want to be able to pick which unit is fighting first. You want to have that happen in your turn.
Yeah, and it also looks like he's done this is a look at Alan's placement here. This is really, really clever. You currently can't move over an endless spell. So if you look at how the board is split, what he's effectively going to do is he can charge over, kill 2 of the Thundertusk Beast Riders, and then the other one isn't going to be able to pile into Archaon, making it so that he's not really going to have to suffer any return damage, which is quite clever. Or 100%. He's going to go the other way. The other thing, Tom, I want to talk about, because it's an auspicious day, one of the last days, well, next 4 weeks until the book comes out and the FAQ follows, is Bellacor, the Demon Prince himself, the old boy, is up there. Currently not a monster, so is up here. Doesn't get any cover save, though, so he doesn't get any bonus for cover because he is ethereal, which means you can't rend his save, but you also can't add anything to his save. So he's no pluses, no minuses. So he's up here, but he has got an ability which he picks an enemy unit, and he will have picked the Stonehorn. That's where my money's on. And it has to roll a dice. It has to roll a 5 up to be able to do each action, basically. So in order to move, in order to charge, in order to fight. So there's some pretty strong...
That's really cool. Yeah.
It's really cool.
Especially when you're parting these Thundertusks, like the parting of a raid C over here, where you have to have 2 units going one side, 2 units going the other, just because of how you now need to move around this inspiring mud hut. I think is the best way to describe it. And this endless spell, right? So
they're fighting for the worst village in Skyrim, is what they're currently fighting for.
Absolutely, you can easily rotate the board here, I guess, if you're the each player, right? Like, I would assume you probably go from this left-hand side from that perspective, just because of where all the random gubbins is placed. But do you score the objectives at the end of your turn, or do you have to wait until the start
at the end of your turn? So he's going to score the objectives at the end of his turn. But we just let you know, Darfie Demon Rift was actually cast from Archaon, not from Kairos. I got that wrong. So Kairos did do the spell portal, and then he did also do 6 mortal wounds out of Kairos through the spell portal, and we saw that placed on this Thundertusk at the bottom, this Thundertusk Beast Rider. So already down to 4 wounds left, and everyone else is the Thundertusk in the middle. Yeah, there's already taken
a lot of damage, Treacle. I mean, maybe if he was wearing some armor, like. You never know. Sometimes you get like metallurgy spells where it like takes your armor and constricts it and squeezes you really out of your armor. So I think him not wearing any clothes there has really helped him out, to be honest. Whereas Archaon,
it's just not really helped, has it?
No, well, I mean, he could be dead if he had the armor on, mate. You never know. Sometimes, chainmail, if you put an arrow through that, it just splinters everywhere and just becomes really bad. So we'll never find out, I guess, until Archaon comes in here. Obviously, this big bad boy flying straight on top of that inspiring mud hut. He really wants it for himself. That looks like a perfect place to live. And he's going to beat away these silly elephant riding like Neanderthal type creatures away from his precious castle.
Yeah. So now Tzeentch have also got an ability, Tom, which is like not an ability, sorry. They also have like a special army-wide rule called agendas. And what he'll have done is he'll have chosen an agenda to achieve a 9-inch charge. And if he achieves that agenda, he gets plus attacks, +1 attack on all of his melee weapons for the rest of the game.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's really good.
So to talk about this buffed up Archaon kind of for a final time, he's also got Destiny dice in his Destiny pool, so he can choose the results of his charge. So he's not even going to have to put any skin in the game. He's definitely just going to choose those dice results and definitely achieve a 9. And then with all of his melee weapons, with all of his melee weapons, he's got +1 to hit, +1 to wound, re-rolling to hit, re-rolling to wound, re-rolling save. He's 800 points of awesome. He is doing everything.
And if that isn't enough, Rob, they're also powering him up even more by bringing the real power players to the table in terms of very undressed blue horrors, which have now been summoned onto the board just to hold that objective for when Archeon comes off of it, right? I mean, we could see the base already overlapping just in case the summoning doesn't go off or something. But now that you've got those blue horrors there, you can basically say, I don't really need to stay here, do I? I can charge you big boys, can't I? Maybe take out this 1-on-4 wounds, probably take out another one as well with all those buffs. So we'll have to see how much damage he really applies to that section. Now, if he does come in, kill both those Thunder Tusks, it's not really a case of splitting the board anymore, really, is it? Because you can't actually even get these two over there. Like, no, you don't need to split the board. One half the board is dead, one is alive. I guess that's a splitting. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's pretty much spot on, actually, Tom. I mean, Archeon's going to do a world of damage in this fight. That's going to be the key point. But he's also, most importantly, up. This is how the Tzeentch Archeon list works, Tom. And I know someone in the chat was just saying, we're seeing this again. We see this Tzeentch Archeon list or a Tzeentch Archeon list a lot in the top tables. But we were going through the pairings for the event, and hey, it is full of Tzeentch mirror matches or Tzeentch versus someone. So I thought we saw a great game played last round by these Thunder Tusks. Why not follow them again into a very different matchup? Last time they had to play against 185 bodies. Now they're up against barely 30.
But as they won that game, it means that you kind of know they're able to clear that amount of space. So let's say Ogres, Archeon comes here. Let's say he kills these two Thunder Tusks over here, right? You can then pile in and charge with all of your remaining big boys. Do as much damage to Archeon as you can, and then double turn and see if you can remove him. If you can remove him, then you just get to run through the entire army, surely, right?
Well, yes. The only thing is that this is the perfect situation, actually, for Archeon. Because what Archeon really wants to do here is he wants you to charge him when he is buffed to high heaven. That's what he wants to do. This is like first round of a big punch fighter. You know, he's like, I'm full of energy, I'm full of juice. Yeah, come at me, bro. Yeah, and then, like, because I'm going to counterpunch really hard. Probably the smartest play is to not engage him in the first turn. Engage the things around him, and then hope for the priority roll into turn 2, and then deal with him. Either way, even if you don't deal with him, and you don't get the priority roll, all of those buffs come off. So +1 to hit comes off. +1 to wound comes off, rerolls to hit comes off, reroll wounds come off, reroll saves come off. So he's still killy, he's still very, very killy, but if you don't fight him, so if the ogres can just decide to not engage with him in their turn, they're in a safe space.
That's fair, that makes sense. Let's have a look and see how they manage this, though, because it doesn't look like there's any shooting, really, so it's just this charging phase. He's now going to start making his attacks into the two Thunder Tusks. And as we predicted, there's a few things going into the wounded Thunder Tusk and a few things going into the unwounded Thunder Tusk. So we're going greedy here. We're not going to try and one-shot a Thunder Tusk. We're going to try and just remove both of them at the same time.
I think he's very, very likely to take both of those out.
I would assume so too, based off the entire list of rules that you read out.
it's a lot of attacks. Like we shouldn't be cautious about it. I'll read through them now as we see this horrific kind of output. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see both of them die. First one down, Tom.
That's for wounded one originally. So that's the smaller attacks that have gone into that one. We're now going to see the bigger attacks go into the Thunder Tusk Beast Shredder with full wounds. See if that one can get removed as well.
Yep. So now Thunder Tusks are actually naturally -1 to hit because they're covered in ice. Yeah. However, +1. Yeah, however, that +1 to hit is going to help him because most of his attacks are 2s. So Slayer of Kings has done 12 damages immediately, which is its maximum damage. It's 4 attacks, 2s and 3s, Ren 2/3 damage.
Yeah.
But he's down to his last wound.
Yeah.
Wow, there we go.
So it looks like all that greasy, slippery oil, as I would prefer to refer to it as, rather than ice, has not been enough to save the two Thunder Tusks from oblivion at the hands of Archeon, the Ever-Chosen. So that is 2 Thunder Tusks gone down, and then 5 points off the mission for the Tzeentch. You've got 1 for your home objective, and then 2 for each of the sides as well. So we are looking now to see how the Ogres can counterpunch this.
Again, like I said, he's got two choices. He either engages or he doesn't in this turn. That kind of has to be where he has to know that his Stonehorn has been Bellacored. This is where Bellacor would announce whether or not they're gonna apply the Bellacor rule, like who it's applied to. There we go.
So, just a clarification, Rob, what does a Bellacor do with the Stonehorn?
Okay, so Bellacor's rule is activated. So like I told you before, it's a once per game ability. You pick one unit that is deployed on the board, and he has chosen the Stonehorn, and he's now activated it. At the start of your opponent's hero phase, which is what's just happened now, you say that unit is now under the thrall of Bellacor. That's what it is. Well, under the thrall, or at least trying to just giving him a tough time. It's called the Dark Master. Nice. And then until your next hero... So then until your next hero phase, so it's going to apply to this hero phase and all the way through to the next hero phase for you, not for your opponent. So it could last for this turn and a priority roll. So if ogres get this turn and next, well, they'll get this turn, but if they get next turn, it's going to apply to that as well. Every time your opponent attempts to cast a spell, which you won't do, but move, which you will try, charge, or attack with any weapons it's armed with, they have to roll a 5+ to be able to do so. So in order to charge Archaon with that Stonehorn, he's going to have to roll a 5 up. In order to attack, he's going to have to roll a 5 up. That's what we're looking at. And so he's basically used Archaon there like as a tank, and also the Stonehorn, which is probably the only real threat there to Archaon, is neutered to some degree. Or he's going to have to roll a 1/3 chance to be able to get involved.
Yeah, especially if Arcane is going to kill 2 Thunder Tusks a turn. I mean, you can't keep that consistency upright. I feel like you have to go for him even without the Stonehorn. Like, it may not be a good play. It may mean that you lose some Thunder Tusks a little bit earlier, but surely that's a winning play, right?
It's super key. Like honestly, Steven's up against it straight off the bat. There isn't really much, or there aren't really many options he's got here to get involved in this fight. So he just does. The question is whether or not. Is whether or not he decides to get involved in the fight. In the hero phase, he's done a prayer, and he's decided to pray into the blue horizon and kill them. Now, there's a lot of Thunder Tusk shooting that we're going to see, Tom. So those Thunder Tusks that we see might be able to pretty much clear that unit of Carrick Acolytes at the top and grab that objective, because each Thunder Tusk counts as 10 models for holding an objective.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you can have the Harpoon launcher for Chain Trap or the Frost Reaved Ice as well. So you could start clearing some stuff up here. That forces the Tzeentch player to start pushing some more of their stuff up to try and take these points as well. And just means that you have less to clear out the later the game goes, right? It just helps you speed through that. And then hopefully you'll be alive long enough to then hold them yourself later on.
Yeah, I mean, it's already looking very tough, to be honest, for the Ogre War tribes. But this is one of those things, like the Seraphon list that we saw previously. I said this is one of the lists you're going to have to play against if you want to play at the top tables. This Tzeentch Archaon list we've seen play again. The Thunder Tusk list is a fun adventure that we're hoping wins and take this out. It was this or watch 120 Grots battle against 45 Blight Kings, and I know what I prefer.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I don't really want to see the Blight Kings either. I don't even play this game very often, but
they are big chunky boys. I know you love big chunky boys.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not like they're not the same aesthetic. Yeah, they're not nude. That's a problem for me. Yeah, need to be more nude. It looks like we might be seeing the Thunder Tusks run away though. Like, I'm not entirely sure if that is. Yeah,
so that Thunder Tusk. That Thunder Tusk is just going to try and grab that objective to keep the points on the board. The other Thunder Tusk probably the same. Also, you have to remember that they're going to try and move away from Darkfire Demon Rift, because next turn it's going to move through all of the ogres and do mortal wounds.
Yeah.
And so that's the result.
Maybe
Archaon ignores. Pardon me?
Maybe it's one of those things where you lob one guy into Archaon, because if you lob one guy in, then you fight back a bunch of guys, and you fight with one guy, then Archaon activates him and kills 2 more Thunder Tusks, right? So if you do this, you're basically losing 1 fewer Thunder Tusk than you would normally, and then you still get like your normal number of attacks. There's no need to throw any more in because you're playing the activation wars here.
Yeah, well, you just flatly don't engage him. I think Steven's making the right call here. He's either opening it up for the Stonehorn to try and engage. The problem is that if he does roll a 5 up to charge the Stonehorn in, he still has to roll a 5 up to fight when he gets. So it's 2 5-ups just to be able to fight Archaon.
And
and
if you
also
split these guys up as well, maybe you can mitigate some of the damage that Archeon does just because he can't multi-charge anymore.
yeah. Oh, so the Stonehorn has rolled a 6, so he can move. I am interested to see where he does decide to move to.
Yep.
It's interesting where
he play up here.
I wonder if he's just going to completely. I mean, I wonder if he might just skip Archeon. He could have just make a beeline for that. No,
no, he's reversing like a bin lorry on the move. He is reversing back into the deadly forest.
He's just hiding. He's just looking. He doesn't want to be involved in this at all.
Yeah, he should pick his moment to go in and one-shot Archeon like the mad lad that he is.
I mean, once Archeon's gone, Tom, the list has got nothing. Like, a lot of people talking about Bellacor in the chat because Bellacor obviously has got to do War Scroll that we've seen featured today. And Bellacor basically is bigger, it's got more wounds, and it's got more combat potential, but is 140 points more. But as you can see, Bellacor's just stood at the back of the board doing nothing because really Bellacor just isn't that good a fighter. So the new Bellacor is kind of an upgrade, but you pay the points for it because you've got a unit that could potentially fight that Thunder Tusk off that objective. Current Bellacor just couldn't do that. It's not going to be able to get involved in that and only counts as a single model. So personally for me, in some of these lists, I think Bellacor's a better option, especially in Legion of the First Prince. But more on that on the show on Monday. And I think that if you're just looking at this game as a whole, you're paying 240 points, which is cheap to just do what we've seen done to the Stonehorn. That's fine. But if I'd have had a little bit more and I could take that model and then move it to threaten objectives, that's good. Because if Archeon goes down, there is very little output left in the Tzeentch force. They've got not much.
100%. And this is why I was kind of getting a boner on for killing Archeon as soon as possible. Just like ramming it down and see if you can get him. Because we don't have like kind of alternative activations in 40k apart from a TCP stratagem, which is we can get into another time. But it's one of those things where if you do charge multiple, then you're probably going to lose a few. And if you don't kill him outright, you've probably got a problem. And without the Huskard on Stonehorn, you're probably not killing him outright. I mean, even with it, you still might not, right? But looks like we're having a little bit of a shuffle around. Some dice are being rolled, which makes me think that the shooting phase is now going on. So
while we're waiting to see what happens in the shooting phase, we are just going to quickly right now pop over to our man Owen, who is going to let us know what's happening at the rest of this event, because this is one match happening in a load of matches at Hammertime 8. Over to Owen right now.
Thanks, Rob. Cheers, Tom. Okay, so yeah, I thought I'm kind of being a bit more of a TO rather than a commentator at this moment. So I just thought what I'd do is just give you a little bit of an overview on what sort of armies haven't lost yet and what the top tables look like. So there are 17 unbeaten armies so far. You'd be unsurprised to hear that 6 out of the 17 armies are all Tzeentch forces. 9 Tzeentch armies in the tournament, and 6 of them haven't dropped a game yet. The other most heavily represented is Daughters of Cain. So another show host, Dayton, currently smashing it on the top tables. He's one of 3 Daughters of Cain players. But then we've got a really nice spread. I'm sure Rob and Tom will be happy with this. We've got Caradron Overlords, Lumineth Realm Lords, Big War, Maggotkin of Nurgle, Gloomspike Gits. I'll repeat, Gloomspike Gits. Ogre, more tribes, which you're seeing on the stream. There's a single Idneth, and then there's a single Cities of Sigmar, so a Tempest Eye. How that shakes down on the top tables, we have... You know this guy, Rob. I'm sure you can have something to... There's a chap called Chris Archibald with a Lumineth arm. He's rocking it up on table 8. He's rolling into the Blight King spam. Table 7 is a Big War force against the Caradron Overlords, like the hipster Caradron Overlords force with the Celestant Prime and 20 Hearthguard Berserkers. Then we've got a Tzeentch Unbound Flux list on table 6 against Daughters of Cain Calibron. Then our Gits player. It's 120 Stabbers versus 70 Pink Horrors. I'll be amazed if they finish the game. That's what I've got to say there. Table 4 is on the stream. And then up on the top tables, we've got Tzeentch versus Deepkin, which is Tzeentch Archaon versus Deepkin. Tzeentch Archaon versus Tzeentch Archaon on table 2. And then table 1 is Daughters of Cain, a Hagnar build facing off against a Tempest Eye, an interesting Tempest Eye shooty list. So yeah, that's it. That's our top tables. Lots of Tzeentch, lots of Archeon, and then a number of players who are representing their factions with just one player up there for each of many armies. And that's it, really. I think we all want to see what's going on. I don't think Archeon's going to be dead. Spoilers. But there is definitely going to be some more action back on the tables. So I'm going to hand you back to Rob and Tom. Back to you, fellas.
Hey, thanks
I'm going to be honest,
very much. Oh, go on, Tom. What you got to say?
But that did surprise me because I'm surprised at how little Tzeentch there is on the top tables at this point. Only 6. Did 3 of them play mirror matchups already? Come on.
Not enough. I don't know if anyone's seen The American Office. I don't know if anyone's seen The American Office, but there's an amazing scene where Michael and Dwight ask about gay men, and they say, how do they make love? And they're like, does one penis open for the other penis? And that's what makes me think of when 2 Archeon players are playing each other. Is it just one sword opens and the other sword gets in? I don't know how it works, but I'm fascinated to find out. Welcome back to turn 1, but the bottom of 1 in this Age of Sigmar matchup between a Host Arcanum Archeon list versus a Boulder Head Ogre Mawtribes list with a bunch of Thunder Tusks. Now, what we're seeing on the tabletop, if you guys are interested in the shooting phase, just while we were gone, Archeon got buffed up, turn 1, by the Tzeentch force, ran over and killed 2 Thunder Tusks. That's what happened. That's what happened first. In the return, Ogres decided not to engage with Archeon while he's buffed up, with Bellacor activating their ability on the Huskard on Stonehorn, who is the beat stick for the army, and he's at the back of the board keeping safe. Yeah. However, the Thunder Tusk on Beast Riders moved up. They killed 5 of these acolytes. They only needed to kill 1, and then they've scored this objective. They also did 8 mortal wounds to Archeon in the shooting phase. Sorry, 6.
Yeah.
Sorry, 6.
So they fired lots of white stuff all over Archeon and did 6 mortal wounds to him. So that's a third of him already, which is very, very cool. Looks like we're already done with that turn, though. So we are now rolling off priority. So they've both rolled a 6.
They've both rolled a 6, which is huge, which means because it's a draw, that means it goes to Tzeentch. That's what it does, or they get the choice. That's what we see here. That sounds very
pertinent for this game, Rob. If in doubt, or it's close, it's just Tzeentch.
Yeah, of course. Just to catch up on the victory points, it's now 5-3. All of those buffs are going to come off Archeon because they've decided that they're going to take the turn. This is pretty tough, but there's a couple of things that have happened here. Positives and negatives. It means that the Dark Master ability is no longer on the Huskard on Stonehorn. Huskard on Stonehorn is laughing at this point. Like, he's free to challenge Archeon in a battle. Also, Archeon's taken some wounds. He's down 6 wounds. He's only got 14 left, and all of those buffs have come off. So he won't be getting... Oh, sorry, he's only got 12 left. So he did take 8. So he did take 8 wounds. And then, but that means, like, he's close to death, Tom. Like, and he'll probably die next turn without the buffs.
60% left.
He's not going to get oracular visions from the Chaos Sorcerer Lord. He just spell ignored the Darkfire Demon Rift, which just moved over him, and popped some blue horrors and turned them into brimstone horrors. And then, but he's not quite as killy as the version that we saw beforehand.
No, not at all.
What do you think, Tom? What do you think?
Well, if Archeon does go down, it's going to depend upon how many points Tzeentch is going to be able to rack up before he does, right? I mean, if they're taking return, that probably means they're going to go for, I'm going to take the 2 central objectives by getting more wounds on those things. I'm going to take 1 on my section as well, which means I'm probably going to have 10 points to start with, and then might have my home objective for another turn or so. Assuming Archeon does go down, probably have that other one in the center as well, assuming that he doesn't get double turned on. That would put him on 13 points, and then can the Huskards really catch up? It's only a 5-turn game. Maybe he's banking for that one, going for a win by inches, not by a mile, because you don't need to win by a mile. You just need to win the game.
Just need to win the game. That's what I like about the scoring in this. Like, you could be quite heavily down. Board control. Age of Sigmar scoring is quite great, because of the granularity of the way it works. Board control at the moment, you think Tzeentch are in a very ascendant position. However, they don't have the tempo. They don't have the staying power to stick until the end of the game once Archeon goes down, because that that Huskard and Stonehorn can rip through those horrors and then that backfield in just 2 turns, really, in combat. So he's got some. So like all they've got to do is kind of take Archeon out in this turn. However, 5-turn game. They're not going to lose this objective at the back because each one of the big monsters counts as 10 models. So they're safe there. That's good. Mm-hmm. That's a big positive thing. They're not going to lose that back objective. They're not going to lose 4 points. And they're really starting to threaten the back of the board with these Thunder Tusks. That's the real thing. In
hindsight, I really like what he's done with these Thunder Tusks here, specifically on the left-hand side of the Ogre Tribe's deployment zone as well, because it means that now you're thinking, well, how much do I need to put into Archeon to remove him from the board now? Do I need to put my entire army in? And if not, well, I've got a couple of guys that can now start charging down Fate Weaver and the Acolytes on the backside of the board, right? Which means that you can then start denying those points earlier, and maybe you don't even get 13 if you're in Siege at that point, especially if you get double turned on. So that really could help swing the game back in favor of the Ogre Tribes, especially if Archeon goes down more quickly than anticipated.
It could. You had your first game of Age of Sigmar yesterday, Tom. First
turn,
but
I'm confident enough that I just make it up as I go along.
No. What I'm saying is, your first game ever, you experienced the priority roll. How did you find it?
I did. Well, the priority roll was fine. It was a mission that was a problem. So I got given first turn, instantly got double turned on. After I got double turned on, I instantly double turned my opponent. So that was glorious. We don't play turn I go, you go here. We play draft
2 turns each
phase. Yeah. So I ban 1 unit, then you ban 2 units. And I ban 2 units, or I take 1 turn, then you take 2 turns, and then I take 2 turns, and so on and so forth. But I had a lot of fun, mate. I really enjoyed my game of Age of Sigmar, notwithstanding the 1 in 6 chance that I had of losing then coming to fruition, because we were playing the Quarry, and you had 1 chance to check the objective, and you rolled a 6. So...
Oh my god! Well, that's crazy battle plans for you. That's not happening in this one though. A lot of decisions being made here, but we've just seen Darkfire. We've just seen Umbral Spell Portal being cast by Kairos again, and he's doing flat 6 mortal wounds. I'm pretty certain into this Thunder Tusk. Yeah, into this Thunder Tusk, as you guys can see here on the objective. So, he doesn't have many other options for damage to push into that Thunder Tusk. We might see Bellacor leave the back of the board and try and get involved in the fight. But I think we might see Archeon just thrown across the board into all of these Thunder Tusks. We might see him try and take all of them out, or at least 2 or 3 of them, and keep them engaged in a fight. Because that really reduces how many bodies are left on the board here for Tzeentch. I think that's going to be his kind of key takeaway. And that mortal wound output from Kairos is just phenomenal. So far, he's been responsible for a flat 12 mortal wounds.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking earlier about how you don't have any ability to put any more damage down on that Thunder Tusk, but it still matters because we were also talking earlier about the ability to threaten the backfield of your movement now, and because you've taken 6 wounds, you're now only moving 6 inches rather than 8. So you're not going about full distance. You've got 2 inches off your movement, so it's a little bit harder to access that backfield. But if you get the double turn, it's probably not the end of the world because it's 12 inches should probably be enough. But it looks like Archeon may be measuring to that Thunder Tusk that's taking the damage as well. There's the potential to hit 2 Thunder Tusks here because you can roll the charge in AOS and then you just move into whatever you can hit, right? So if you roll a big charge here, you could hit the Huskard and Thunder Tusk with 12 wounds and the Huskard and the Beast Raider over here on the 6. So that could have the potential to remove 2 units and completely secure the backfield for the Tzeentch as well.
Well, as of yet, he hasn't even engaged in the game. He hasn't moved, so he's still just doing mortal wounds via the magic phase. So he's done another mortal wound right now from Arcane Bolt. He's also got +1 to hit and +1 to wound back on Archeon. That's probably the most important thing. The important part there is the Tzeentch dominance in the magic phase, pretty total because there are no enemy wizards to attempt to unbind. So he's just got to roll the dice, and then if he gets it, he's safe as houses. So he's pretty much doing what he wants. We're now seeing the Fang Circlet. So this is 6 Screamers of Tzeentch that are coming out of the Chaos Sorcerer Lord. There you can see he's got an artifact. So once per game, he can summon 6 Screamers of Tzeentch and put them on the board. So he's probably going to use those to try and hold that back objective in case a Thunder Tusk runs across the board. Now, again, the Thunder Tusks are only worth 10 wounds, or not only, they are worth 10 wounds, which is brilliant. So when they go and grab that objective, they feel that like they're really, really good for like killing, like you saw here, this unit of acolytes, take a few out, and then move over and then just be like, I'm 10 models, you're not. So now we're seeing those screamers. Oh, they're pushing up. They're screening the board. Very interesting. Yeah. So they've grabbed that objective back. So this might mean Archaon isn't going towards the Thunder Tusk.
You don't need to now. There's no way we can get to that backfield because those screamers are in the way. That's going to cause a big issue for those Thunder Tusks over on that side. And maybe you can go and start cleaning up the backfield objective and get yourself a sweet 4 points if you're able to.
Yeah, that's it. Do you think? So where do you think he's going? Do you think he's slotting himself between these 3 Beast Riders, or do you think he's going for the long bomb charge?
Do you take this opportunity to try and kill the Stonehorn? Because if you do, you don't really have like too much to get Archaon with, right? Surely.
Especially if you're right. That makes sense.
It basically ends the game. Because you take this here, and now you've got these 3 Thunder Tusks here, and maybe this 4th one over here as well. But they either have a choice to go back and secure the backfield objective, which then stops Tzeentch from getting all the points. But it means that you're not getting any points to catch up because you're behind. But equally, you can't really push forward either. So I feel like this is a tricky spot for the Ogre tribes here. And if Archaon makes that judgment about Huskard on Stonehorn, I think that's probably game over.
Yep, no, that's fair. I can see what you're saying. I think a lot of what you're saying there makes loads and loads of sense. I don't know what he's going to go for. I think probably the right play, go into the Stonehorn, but I also like the idea of just pushing into the Thunder Tusks, because if he does and he takes all 3 of them out, or maybe 2 of them at least, the Stonehorn, when he wanders over to beat him up, like the most he's going to do is beat him up in the midfield, go into turn 3. Can he push the back objectives? Not really sure. But you're right. If you take him out, it's probably effectively over. Probably very little that the Thunder Tusk can do to the rest of the force, especially as they keep generating fate points, and which means that they keep summoning. That's really the key point.
I mean, he may not even get the choice, right? He may fail that, like, not get a charge that long. And if you do, then it's a case of, do you go for this Thunder Tusk Beast Rider on 11 wounds or the Huskard on Thunder Tusk with 13? And I feel like the answer is probably you go for this 11 wound one, just because it neuters a lot of the side. And again, you're dividing the board up. You've got 2 that can then go for the Screamers, and then 2 that can then go for the Brimstone Horrors on the side as well. And at that point, you can start to block things off quite nicely. Alternatively, you could go for the Huskard on Thunder Tusk and then basically force everybody to head down this funnel with the Screamer side and then just block all of that off. So you just Benny Hill it around the inspiring Mudhut. And then I think it's probably very, very difficult for the Ogre tribes to catch up in points. They're going to need a big turn next round. I think they need a double turn somewhere, Rob.
Yeah, I think they are. They really are. And I mean, to be honest, they could have done with a priority roll this turn. This would have been good.
That would have been absolutely huge. Yeah.
They did 6 wounds in shooting last turn to take Archaon out. I think the Stonehorn is probably the right call, and I think that's what we're seeing here, Tom. We've seen him lined up for the charge. Now, you said if he makes the big charge. I don't know if you've been told about Destiny Dice, but
is it like Sisters of Battle?
It's like Sisters of Battle. So he's got some dice in his pool. I need to find out where his Destiny Dice pool is. But I think he's used most of them. I think he might. So he's only got a 9 left. So like a 6 and a 3 in total. Can you take one
of the dice and then roll the other one?
No, you have to choose both.
I think he might be out on the 9 there, brother. I think
I think the 9-inch charge might not be it. In which case, he might just be going for both of these 2 Thunder Tusks.
It depends if he rolls.
Don't forget, I suppose that Thunder Tusk that's over on the top objective has already been suffered quite significantly. It's down already 7 wounds to 6 wounds left, thanks to Kairos, and also the Lamprey bites from these Screamers. If they charge in against monsters, they do D3 damage. So
you can take that out naturally. I can get an 8-inch charge, so he's not going to be able to make that Huskard. But instead of what we were talking earlier about, do you go for the 11 wound Thunder Tusk Beast Rider, or do you go for the Huskard that's full wounds on the side? He's going for both. He loves it. He's feeling pretty confident. And also, we've lost 8 wounds off of Archaon already. He's now back at 13. So you've taken 2 in the hero phase, and then 6 from the snowballs that are coming at you. So Archeon is going into these. If you can remove this Beast Rider on the top side with the Screamers, and you can remove these 2 Huskguards, Thundertusks down here as well, what have you got left to remove Archeon? You've got 1 Huskguard on Thundertusk, and you've got 1 on Stonehorn. And even if you do kill him at that point, there's no way that you're going to be able to hold enough objectives for long enough, especially if you then lose another unit in the next turn. I think the priority roll this turn was really important. That 2 6s was big.
Yeah, you got to feel really happy if you were Stephen and you rolled the 6 for the priority roll, and then your opponent rolls the 6 as well. You're like, no. But also, I think a point to make here about this is the Stonehorn is going to be fighting on his own home objective, which is pretty much how these Archeon lists play. I call them swamp lists. There's a couple of versions of these. All they basically do is they throw most of their army at you, and then they go, I'm going to fight in your half for most of the game. I'm going to take the midfield very comfortably, and you have to fight your way out of your own deployment, basically. And then that means, like, you know, even if the Stonehorn goes in now, going into turn 2, if Stephen wins the priority roll, he can just take it. He doesn't have to even do anything particularly good with it. All he has to do is just be like, cool, I'm going to grab these 2 middle points again, and then he's all good, if that makes sense. He's up on points. And at that point, like you say, probably the time has ended, and it's just ticked away. That's what it is.
Yeah, 100%, especially when you've only got 1 model left, potentially, which is what we might end up with at the end of this fight phase. Now, we don't have all of the buffs on Archeon, but we do have enough. We do have, let me scroll around because I can't read it, +1 to hit and +1 to wound. So no rerolls, but we do have the modifiers coming in. And it looks like we're going to start rolling for his attacks now, see how many of these guys we can remove.
Yeah. I don't know who he's going to remove. I don't think he's going to be able to take both out, but we'll see.
Depends on the rolling roll.
So the big question is, what about my Screamers, Tom? Big fan of the Screamers, me.
Big fan of Screamers.
Really big. They got 3 attacks each. They're hitting on 4s. The Thundertusk is -1 to hit, so it is going to be 5s. But if he had a character nearby, he could give them.
We have activated Archeon first, and we've already killed the Huskguard.
Well, so we put him in the sword. So. Wow. Okay. So
what does that mean for clarification, Rob?
So we got 3 wounds. We got 4 wounds through from the Slayer of Kings, which is his sword. And what that means is if you roll it at 2 more. So when you roll your wound dice, so he had 4 to roll. If you roll 2 6s, you automatically slay whatever it is you're fighting. So Nagash, that
another Archeon.
Another Archeon. There's also a fight on death command ability accessible to Archeon. So if you slay him with the sword,
they could put each other in each other's swords.
Exactly.
It's like that scene from The Office all over again.
Exactly. Which one opens? And so he's done that with the Slayer of Kings, and then he's taken the other Thundertusk Beast Rider down to 2 wounds. I think he's done all of his attacks. We'll just double check. So he's still got a few.
He doesn't stop. Like normally in 40k, when you talk about like swamp lists, we normally call those multiple threat overload lists because you just lob lots of stuff that's scary that you have to deal with. I wouldn't call this multiple threat overload because there is only 1 threat, and here he is killing all of my Nakey boys, which is very sad. But at the same time, another
Thundertusk is also gone. So not much left in his army, and Archeon back up a wound because he slayed a model.
I'm ready. This Thundertusk Beast Rider here is going to activate and kill all the Screamers. I mean, he's going to walk over
3 wounds apiece, though.
Over the head with his massive whatever he has.
I'm just going to tell you, Tom, the Thundertusk Beast Riders, not quite the combat monsters that you would think. I know they're woolly mammoths, and you're excited, but...
I believe.
Okay.
I should not have believed. There are still Screamers left. That is a shame.
There are all of the Screamers left, aren't they?
I mean, the number is irrelevant, Rob. Their existence is the problem.
Yes, that's very true. This looks like a very unfortunate time for the Beast Raiders.
He's done a wound. He's done a wound.
The real big question is, will they kill him back? Because that's
true. That's true.
So yeah, they've got 18 attacks. The important point is their D3 damage against monsters. This is this is so rare you get this chance to use it. So,
my word, not like that they don't.
No, well, so they're re-rolling 1s, but they're hitting on 5s. I'm pretty certain. So because they're minus, well, they should be, they're -1 to hit. So already this is pretty tough. They've wounded 3 times, though. Rend 1. So any
okay.
5 ups to save. That's what they need. He saved 1. So it's 2d3 damage.
6 wounds.
6 wounds is what he needs.
Go. Come on.
We're just waiting to see what they do here.
Very tense. This could change the whole game,
damage.
This could switch the whole game.
Oh, I don't think...
Oh!
Okay. What, one of them?
So Kairos is coming in hot.
Okay, so... Oh, there we go! So what he did there was, Kairos has a once per game ability where he can change the result of a dice roll. He changed the dice of one of the wound rolls we just saw to give him an additional... one of the save rolls down.
Yeah.
To give to change it so that he got to roll 3 damage dice instead of 2, and that capped out the...
got it.
And he got the average damage, and he killed it. That is Kairos' ability gone, but that has scored him the objective as well. It's 10 victory points to... it's 10 victory points to 3, with Ogre Moor Tribes taking their second turn. Not going to lie to you, Tom. It's looking pretty bad for the Ogre Moor Tribes.
Yeah, oh, okay. Right, yeah, okay.
For Zeech. Wait, is Zeech doing badly here?
I think this is the turn where the Ogre Moor Tribes get their double turn just to rub it in. But if you'd had this a turn earlier, maybe it was a game. But in this one, I think it's going to be pretty tricky. +1 to wound being applied to the Huskard on Stonehorn. He's going for it. He's going to take out the Ever-Chosen and the Master of Chaos on his stupid flying dragon. And he's going to take his armor and stick it in the Great Moor Pot. That is what he's going to do. He's going to sit tight, eating his food by himself without having to feed any of his mates.
Well, so he's moved forward there. I imagine the Thunder Tusk is going to pop forward as well. Bellacor also on that objective at the back, just snuck himself in there. So he's ethereal. So he's got 8 wounds and ethereal at the back. He's going to be holding this objective quite nicely. This is looking scary. I mean, at least Stephen could just be like, do you know what? I'm taking out this Archeon right here. I think that's probably the play that he needs to do. The problem is he can't even leave his own home objective now. If he does,
that's true.
If he does, then someone can drop a boy on there and just score, and that's going to be pretty tough for him. So I think he's going to be looking for a double turn here. So he's going to want to charge Archeon. He's going to want to charge around Archeon there, and then he's going to want to just to touch the back of his base on his own objective, and then he's going to want to charge the Blue Horrors a turn after. The Thunder Tusk is... he's moving back. Okay, so he's basically just going to have a touch. Yeah, so he's basically going to use the Stonehorn to just ram through the opponent's army. Whether or not he's going to do that, not sure. We'll see. If you could get a triple turn, then
that would be overpowered. Yeah. I feel like if you roll a double on your priority roll, we're just going to roll 2 dice because I'm a big cheater. Then you should get triple turn, much like the Bone Splitter's magic powers. You get extra bonuses when you roll those doubles. So
How do you feel? How do you feel having watched Archeon in play right now?
Very sad because all my boys are dead. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I like the fact that a cool model actually sees play though. Like, often you see like these massive centerpiece models and they're really cool, but often they're just a bit garbo really, or a little bit underwhelming, or they just don't fit in the kind of list. Whereas it's nice to see lots of these cool models and seeing people's creative outlets on something really nice. I think that's kind of cool. But at the same time, just like, I don't know if it's just broken because I don't know the wider context of the game. Maybe it is. There's a lot of Zeech around. So we'll have to see. How many of the Zeech in play today, Rob, have Archeons, by the way?
Quite a lot. I think of the 9 Zeech lists here, I think there's 5. So just I think it might be 4. So just let you know what's happened. The Huskard on Stonehorn has charged. He rolled a big charge, and he did 6 mortal wounds on the charge. However, Archeon has a mortal wound shrug. He can shrug them. It's a DPR save on a 4+, and he unfortunately saved 4 of the 6. So he's taken 2 wounds. He's half dead though. He's half dead. And he did also bounce 2 wounds back, because if you roll a 6 on that save... Oh, and he's also gone for the charge from the Thunder Tusk, looking to...
He's going all in on killing this guy, by the way. He's going all in. The game is ending here, either with Archeon's death or the death of all of the stones at the hand.
He's just done 8 mortal wounds on the charge.
That's easy, brother.
So here we go. How many are going to be ignored on a 4-up? That's the real question. How many?
Rather than rolling the dice, that's the first question I'm trying to look for.
Yeah.
They keep switching sides every time I bloody move. Okay,
so he's taken
another 4, so that
4.
means exactly
6
average.
left.
1 has been bounced back, so that means that Stonehorn is still acting on. Is it still acting on full profile? Yeah, because it's taken between 0 and 2 wounds, so it's still absolutely fine. Although I think we'll probably see the Stonehorn activated first because that is a big chunker. You do not want that being taken out by Archon, but I guess to fight, right?
You do not want him taken out. You want him. You want the big chonker, as he's described. That's right.
He is
the Huskard on Stonehorn, the chonky bonky.
Can we talk about how I appreciate that the Huskard on Thundertusk basically just charged to apply mortal wounds because you're never going to assume that thing's going to attack.
But imagine what would have happened, Tom, if all of the monsters that we saw previously had charged at the same time. You would have applied all those mortal wounds.
They'd have just run him over, mate. They'd have just run him over with their feet. Loads.
Okay, so the Huskard on Stonehorn. So at the start of the combat phase, Tom, the Archeon can spend a command point so that if he is slain, he can fight upon death. Pretty important because he's got 6 wounds left. So will this be the Archeon dead, but the sword taking another mammoth with him? That's the real question. So the Huskard and Stonehorn not only has to fight, but he also has to survive the fight afterwards, which seems really unfair, right?
Yeah, 100%, but that's okay. So long as, Zeech can win the game at this point. So long as the Huskard wins Hell in a Cell and kills Archeon himself, I'm okay with that. We're only here to see Hell in a Cell, mate. That's all we
want. That's all we want. Archeon through a chair, Mick Foley coming out and saying, look, it's all over. Then the Huskard and Stonehorn being the new commish. That's what we want. The commish of the mortal realms.
He is now the Huskard and Stonehorn, the ever-chosen master of chaos and unifier of the mortal realms. I don't know what all his titles are. He's like Daenerys Targaryen. Yeah, exactly. He is greased up, though, so we are going to see if he's going to actually apply any damage here, because I believe that grease is so slippery. Archeon with his dying action may just slip straight off his shoulders. Yeah. You know?
So the attack's being rolled now in combat. There doesn't seem to be much in it other than this combat. This is key, so we're going to stick with it right here.
Look at that. Greasy Boy already saves 3 hits because 3 2s were rolled. Look at that.
Oh, wow. To hit with the Stonehorn's big horns. Did not do well at all. And it's been saved on a 6.
Oh, no. Hell in a Cell is over.
Oh, no. That's
the game and the cash.
That is the so those are the big horns, and then they've got +1 to hit on them. It's really important that they go off. They're the big damage, really. He's not a Frost Lord, so his spear attack isn't particularly good either. That's basically the damage. So Archeon in the Hell in the Cell, like Hulk Hogan with his Hogan Rage, has survived everything that's been thrown at him. He's summoned the will, and he's Tom. He's alive, and he's about to activate.
I mean, I feel like if you didn't believe WWE was fake before, now you do, because that's just unreasonable. That can't be realistic. How has he shrugged that off? Disgusting.
What has he done? What has he done?
Oh, and now Archeon wants the Stonehorn dead. He wants to throw him off the ladder straight through the table, and he's going to take back cash. All those attacks are going directly into the Stonehorn. You can sack off the Huskard on Thundertusk, get rid of that Stonehorn, and then maybe with the last breath, the Huskard on Thundertusk comes in hot and wins Hell in a Cell himself. The one we never expected is going to
We never expected this play. Right, so Slayer of Kings. Wait, no 6s on Slayer of Kings. Okay. So he's got 3 up armor save, Tom.
Okay.
So he's done.
So 2 wounds left on the Huskard.
Well, no, because he's taken 9 wounds. He has a 5 up DPR save on top.
I see.
And he saved 5 of those, so he's only taken 4.
I took 5.
Took 5.
Still slightly above average, though, so he's only taken 5 there, so down to 6 wounds.
6 wounds, unfortunately, left. Not looking good for the big chonker, as he's known to. There's still more attacks. Drogar, the mount he rides on, the beast of chaos.
It sounds like you named your motorbike.
Yeah, Drogar the bike. Honestly, not bad in a fight either.
No.
However, so 6 wounds is pretty good. 6 wounds, he's half alive basically. But he's got the 5 up DPR, and it looks like both players rolling quite badly for this combat. Yes. So this is fine. This is fine.
I tell you what's upsetting me more than this Hell in a Cell match, mate. It's this disgusting pile of dice that's starting to manifest itself right behind the dice roller. Why does nobody here delete their dice?
Because we don't do that. There's no time.
What with your 12 models or whatever it is?
So the Stonehorn has survived with 3 wounds left. Oh wait, we've still got some attacks left. 3 wounds left on the Stonehorn. He isn't looking healthy at all. The Huskard on Thundertusk. Well, okay, so 4 damage coming in. He saved. Oh no, he's only saved one of them.
Huskard is gone. No.
Oh, that Huskard is out of here.
A late challenger approaches.
The Huskard on Thundertusk, the tag team champion.
Who's that? Here he comes.
Let's see how he does. I would like to point out the Tzeentch Force actually has lost no units so far in this game. And
nobody's lost any models yet, has it?
Well, no, they have lost some models. They lost some acolytes. And I think the important point to note here is they've actually started with more units and models than they started with. Well, they've got more now. They've summoned this unit of 6 Screamers. They also summoned this unit of Blue Horrors. So more models on the board now than they actually started with. We're down to a Huskard on Thundertusk. This is all we got.
So the late challenger approached and
did no damage.
He saw Archaon. And this is where the double turn comes in. Mo's going to get him.
Yeah, let's get him.
He's going to get him. I'm just waiting for the priority roll now, boys.
The priority roll is in. There's only 1 wound left. Yeah, dominated.
So there is a giant Archaon on board as a visual metaphor for the state of the game. That's okay, because we've still got our prospective Hell in a Cell champion, the Huskard on Thundertusk, to try and get the double turn. Which,
unfortunately, I think Tzeentch.
I can't tell who rolled which dice, so it's not helpful.
Tzeentch have won the priority. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the audience, this is all the way over. Is what Archaon now is about to slap that Huskard on Thundertusk. I think we can call the game here. It's been a horror show. Tom, I promise normally games are a little bit more fun than this. What do you think of this match? Twitch chat, what do you think of this match? What are your thoughts?
I mean, not getting the double turn there. I feel like in this game, in AOS, my initial impressions, there are going to be some situations where you have to play for the double turn, and that's the only way you get the win, right? And I feel like that's what the Ogre tribes had to do here, and I think that's what they did. And they didn't get it, and sometimes that's the way it goes, right? And at that point, you just shrug your shoulders and say, oh, well, now I'll try and win Hell in a Cell. That also didn't go too well, unfortunately, despite all the mortal wounds. But you know what? I can respect it. Archaon now healing himself back up. He's getting the attention of the ambulance after claiming that big suitcase worth of cash. And he's also going to claim the VPs of the tournament as well.
I mean, significant. Like, if people watch, this is why I wanted to cover this matchup, because I wanted to cover this match versus the match we saw before. We saw these Thundertusks and also the Stonehorn clear skinks. Like, they were clearing them like the baby chickens they throw in the blender when they hatch out, like for chicken nuggets. They were just ripping them to pieces. It was wild. It really was. And in this situation, Archaon has done exactly the same. This has felt so one-sided straight from the off. Like, it's just felt crazy. And not forgetting that the first turn was given away, but so many of those key points by Ogre Tribe, to Tzeentch, so many of those key points, so many of those key matches were really, one of the key strategies were really involved in Archaon just getting slung forward turn 1. And I think Stephen knew that. I wonder what his thought process was on it ultimately. But interesting game. Interesting pair of games if you take them, if you watch them back to back. So if you watch the day like the round 2 and round 3, I think you end up with an interesting set of matches, and you can really kind of have a discussion about how these armies work. We're going to cut back to us now. Tom?
That's fine. Yeah, that's all good.
That's the day. So we will be live again tomorrow at 9 a.m. For rounds 4 and 5. And it's very rare we've done any 2-day events over the past few weeks. past few months while we've been doing these TTS events and while obviously lockdown's happening. And this is where the game really is going to start to like make sense and polarize. Because like we talked about, there's a lot of Tzeentch lists already doing very, very well. There's some standout Daughters of Cain lists, and there's a couple of lists poking their head out. Nurgle, Gitz, and of course, Daughters of Cain. So those are all in the running for tomorrow. There are at least 3 mirror matches for Tzeentch in the top 12, or in the top bracket. So we aren't going to see, we're going to still see them on the top tables, but there might be some non-Tzeentchian builds as well. So it'll be fun to try and get some of those on tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't get Tzeentch versus Tzeentch mirror matchups the entire way through. That could be.
No.
That could be
tomorrow we'll cover. If there is any non-Tzeentch matchup, we'll cover it. I just thought that this would be a particularly good one, having watched the Thundertusk do the turn before, see how they do in this situation, and show what the weaknesses were, really. Like, they just were unable to punch through that guy. And also, good conversation about Bellacor's ability. Bellacor's ability that we saw there is as good on the new War Scroll, but Bellacor can go fight at the same time. So
is this this is the old War Scroll Bellacor, but it still keeps some core elements from the old one, right?
Literally identical. You just get more wounds. It's a more fighty War Scroll. It costs more points, definitely, but it's fightier. It's got more wounds, more survivable, but it keeps all of the same abilities. So I think good. I think really, really good. It means you can't quite min-max. You can't just accidentally slip in 240 points of like the best ability in Age of Sigmar. Like, it's pretty good.
Fair play. Makes sense.
And the timing on Bellacor's ability is slightly different now as well, yes. But it's quintessentially the same. So, anyway. Tom, thanks very much for hanging out with me today.
It was a pleasure, mate. I enjoyed watching that. That was good fun.
Yeah. And then thanks to everyone who has been watching live. You're all massively appreciated. Loads and loads. So do join us again tomorrow. That's really, really important. And thanks to intern Matt for bringing us all the table goss. Thanks to Stephen and also Alan. Alan joins for playing this matchup today. It's been very cool. So loads of love to you. See you all tomorrow. Have a nice day. Goodbye.